Hello and welcome to another Nikke video. With the Nier COLLAB event ending soon, I thought I would give my thoughts and do a review. Don't worry, I won't be doing an average review like the other sites and just slap a number at the end. I'll be evaluating it on these categories: presentation, music, contents, character designs, and event story. Please leave a like and a sub, and I hope you enjoy the video. As soon as the game starts, it goes into this cool loading screen, simulating a system boot up and initialization that pretty much all Nikkes go through. And in case you didn't know what NIMF stood for, they spell it out right there on the first 5 lines. This loading screen shows what is to come into the story of the events, finally leading into this cool splash screen of all the main characters of the event. Once inside the actual event, the map itself I actually liked. It has this really cold and industrial look, with lots of small details if you do happen to take a look around. You've got raptures destroyed at the edge of the map, machines moving and constructing things, buildings destroyed and dilapidated. Even when collecting the shinies, some of them are just brutal. Despite this cold feeling, they left this nice area with flowers and butterflies, just to give us a little happiness in all this depression. Wish after we completed the story, all the action going on in the map stayed or gave us an option to toggle it on or off. No one talks and only the counter squad remains. Just something about seeing the mass-produced Nikkes and raptures going at it over and over with no end in sight. Sorta reminds me of the main story. I found it odd that both 2B and 9S never said a word on the map, and A2 was never even presented anywhere. I'll even take a grunt or a sigh. As for the loading of the stages, they left these messages in every loading screen, some of them going pretty deep and others just telling you to relax. In the actual stages, they really went above and beyond on how the UI and enemies mimic their game, Nier AUTOMATA. From the color scheme being completely changed, the aiming reticle reflecting how much ammo you have and changing colors when you are dealing damage, the boss damage bar reflecting the color scheme change, the raptor shots turning into these red orbs, reloading weapons shows a pop-up and shows the progress of the reload, and lastly the Nikke icons on the bottom being darkened and only the main Nikke being highlighted. One final thing, on the hard mode of stage 2, it has this really cool download feature on the stages, a pretty nice detail. As for the music for the COLLAB is absolutely amazing. Sorry if I butcher his name. Jong-yeon-jo, or also known as Cosmograph, was the main composer who created the original music inspired by Nier AUTOMATA. He did a phenomenal job understanding the music that went into the original game and bringing it to Nikke. Here he is composing some of the music. I'll be playing some quick excerpts from the soundtrack. Enjoy. Please keep in mind that with the Chainsaw Man collab, we only really got 4 pieces of original music compared to Nier's 12. Now, for the contents. Besides the map, there are 3 total story modes, 2 normal and 1 hard, a challenge mode with the boss of it being everyone's favorite laser boss Material H, a shooting minigame, daily missions, mission pass, co-op, and the standard login stamps and shop. I'll get dissecting the story later on in this video, but the actual number of stages to complete is higher than normal since we get 16, with the standard being 12. On top of the extra stages, we also have a longer than normal time for this collab and gives us pretty much a month to complete all the content. More than enough to achieve this goal. This also gives us more opportunities to get more resources for free, especially core dust. Next, looking at the minigame, this game is pretty much lifted from Nier, but they had to make some adjustments to allow people to play this on the phone and also use one finger. So it was easy to control and navigate for the most part until you reach the later stages in the game. The way they got around using only one finger for everything is that they reduced the shooting to being automatic, and it auto-locks to any enemy that is close to you. This includes the orange enemy shots, and when multiple of these enemies are shooting you, it will constantly aim at the shots and not the enemy producing them, leading to some frustration and having to either take risks and get closer to the main enemy or playing it super safe and trying to hit them from off screen if you can. Besides that, when there were few enemies and things actually worked, it was a really fun game and way less sweaty than a summer BBQ minigame. But please let us use 2 fingers next time. The rewards we get with every completion was gems and some body labels for different manufacturers and lore. Free resources are always good, but gems are always the best. The challenge stages wasn't too bad, but this is the only challenge stage I had to actually try on. Usually I would just steamroll over all the others, but thanks to the mechanics of this boss, I had to actually manually take over. The shield it creates until you destroy the mini raptures and the laser it shoots when it gets lower in bars are always annoying. Just defeat the mini raptures quickly with a quick burst, just make sure you dodge before it shoots the lasers. It will go down in no time with you receiving core dust at the later stages. As for the daily missions, they introduced a new feature to the game that allows us to get double rewards. Too bad it was only for a few days, but it was the standard stuff, resources, bond boost, and event currency. With the challenge tab giving us more resources, they did happen to give us 2 free alternative costumes for A2 and 2B, with more copies of everyone's favorite Pascal. The co-op mode is the standard boss for every collab so far, Gatekeeper, giving us 3 different time periods to complete it and get some broken cores so you can buy plenty of things at the recycling shop. His patterns and element may change per mode, but the tactics used will be the same. You beat him once and you pretty much saw everything there was to see. Lastly, the login bonus is the most we have ever received for an event in the game, standing at 21 days. It also provides 15 advanced recruit vouchers, a frame, tons of resources, and bond boost, and Pascal as well. So far, all the content the event has to offer, there is plenty to do and keep you occupied, with the biggest thing being is just how much resources we are getting from this event for free. Now looking at the character designs, they did a fantastic job bringing the characters from Nier to this game. All the features you expect the characters to have are present, but they went one step further by making them Nikkified. What I mean by this is by making them thick and bouncy, increasing pretty much everything, their hips, bust, and bootay. I'll provide a comparison from the original artist drawing and the in-game model to what we got in Nikke. So both 2B and A2 received this treatment, and I got to say it is more than a welcome addition to the game. Besides these lovely ladies, there were also other characters that were presented as well. 9S, despite him only appearing in the story, honestly looks better than he does in his own game. His clothing has a fitted look, and all of the little details painted in gold really help the outfit shine. Too bad we will never see him again after this ends. Such a shame. As for Pascal, his live 2D was extremely well done. He looks exactly like the game's counterpart, and even the reflections of light hitting the metal looks appropriate. Lastly, the new live 2D of Product 12. We got 3 of them and hope we get more of this, just without all the suffering. It was nice seeing how much battle damage each one had, going from squeak clean brand new to having tons of battle damage and looking battle hardened. My overall feeling on the character design is they took liberties when they could, but overall stood close to the source material, and if you weren't a fan of them before, it would be hard not to be a fan of them now. Now lastly, for the story. One major flaw of the story is not having it voiced, especially some VAs from both games are presented, but this does not take away from the overall story, just would have been nice to hear. This event gave us 2 different stories with 2B, 9S, and A2 somehow appearing in Nikke's world throughout a transporter malfunction. The first part of the story follows the counter squad investigating another D-Wave at the factory, and finding the 3 different Product 12s, 6000D, B0006, and C1002, leading them to the factory with 2B and 9S following closely behind. Concurrently, the second part follows A2 and also another Product 12 called P12. Just to sum up the story, they go into the factory to figure out what is going on with all these mass-produced Nikkes fighting mass-produced Raptures over and over, with the main goal being to find another transporter and defeating the gatekeeper so they can finally go home, while also having some philosophical questions throughout the event, such as having an identity and being a unique individual amongst a sea of copies, being able to have thoughts and ideas of your own even if you don't have a mind. Will you have true freedom if something else controls your life? I'm not a philosopher, but pretty sure there were more questions asked. These 3 just really stood out. In terms of Nikke characters, it was really nice to delve deeper into how these mass-produced Nikkes felt being paired up with not only other Nikkes, but just how disgusted they felt being paired with the same models, how they view non-mass-produced Nikkes compared to themselves and knowing their fates and having no options. As for the Nier characters, there wasn't anything really that helped us understand who they were besides the thing they lightly touched on, such as being an android, being created to save humanity, and not having a brain but consciousness data. We can easily go to Google or their game and find plenty of resources that explain more in depth of who they are, what they do, what they are trying to achieve, and so on. This event unfortunately did not convey those ideas either not well or at all. I even double checked their Bond stories and it did provide just a very small amount of depth, but still nothing major at all. Their inclusions as characters were very shallow, and I understand that they did not have enough ways to get all that information out. Seeing how they only have so many stages to work with, and just putting a wall of text would not help out either. Since this game's main focus is on Nikkes, I am not expecting a super elaborate and detailed story for the COLLAB characters, but having them give more details about who they are and explaining more about themselves without having to hand-wave everything or force the story to move on. Despite all this, I would say the story wasn't that bad. I really liked the parts with all the Product 12s and even giving us multiple endings to consider. Unfortunately, all the endings lead to the same thing. But I do find it funny that Uni in the main story can cause so much chaos willingly and only be put in prison while the Product 12 gets instantly mind-wiped. Such is the life of a mass-produced Nikke. Now for my final thoughts. With all things considered, I think overall the COLLAB was a huge success. They completely outdone themselves from not only their first COLLAB, but can easily be in the top 3 events. So much love and admiration for this IP is oozing through so many elements, from their models, abilities, animation, music, the UI mimicking their game, etc. Hopefully events of this magnitude continue to not only be produced, but are able to become better and even more elaborate. It's going to be really nice to see what COLLAB they will do next and how they will implement those characters in the world of Nikke. One final note, there were plenty of Easter eggs in the game. The very apparent one being they included the joke about Rappy and 2B's voice actress being the same and sounding extremely similar. Of course the joke falls flat when you can't actually hear them. The other being that Rappy is a bonus character for the event at 28%. The 8 is supposed to look like a B, so 2B. Funny, huh? Please, tell me your thoughts on this event. How did you feel overall about everything? Was there something you felt they could have done better? Maybe something you enjoyed that people don't talk about? I would like to know in the comments. I didn't expect this review to go on for so long, but I really hope you enjoy it. Please leave a like and a sub. I'm Scrublord, and I hope I see you again.